All right. Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, March 8, 2022 Urbandale City Council meeting. I will call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to take a roll call, please.
Blake?
Here.
Carberry Montgomery?
Here.
Kroll?
Here.
Obrecht?
Here.
McBurney?
Here.
Please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Urbandale is a national leader in character counts, endeavoring at all times to promote and model the principles of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. In conducting tonight's meeting, we expect that all participants will act in a respectful manner consistent with these principles. Item 2, approve the agenda. Is there a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Motion by
Seconded.
Cole, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. That passes, all right. Item 3, Citizens Forum. This is the opportunity to speak on something to the council that's not a part of tonight's agenda. Is there anyone that would like to address the council this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Item 4 is to approve the minutes from the February 22, 2022 meeting.
I'll move approval.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery.
Second.
Second by Blake. Discussion, please vote. All right, that passes. Item 5 is the consent agenda. We are going to pull items 5.7 and 5.8 from the consent agenda at this time. I would ask for a motion and second to approve the remainder.
Motion to approve the consent agenda minus 5.7 and 5.8.
Okay, motion by McBurney.
Second.
Second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. And then we will take up first item 5.7. Bob, do you want to kick us off on that? Oh.
I can. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. What you have in front of you basically are, there are two distinct violations. One would be, I guess I should turn my mic on. I'm not used to talking. Two distinct violations, items of 5.7, 5.8. One is the alcohol. The other one would be the violation of the tobacco. And you'll see in front of you there, they've signed an acknowledgement. It's in the council letter. And on the tobacco violation, this would be the third, as I understand it, within 3 years. And it would be the second alcohol within 3 years. And the recommendation from the staff was that we would implement this effective Monday. We have had a request from the owners to extend out that time frame until May 1. And I don't know if the owners are even here this evening. The staff's position is this is really a council decision. If you want to acknowledge that, fine. And again, this is the first time we've had these kind of violations in quite some time. And we have violations, but not when we have had alcohol and tobacco in the same time frame. It's been quite a while. And Nicole has been working with them, and we'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, Bob. Nicole, is there anything else from the communications that we had that?
No, I don't believe the owner is here this evening,
Okay.
but he's certainly worked with us as we go through the process and has already paid the fine. I would say while our recommendation was Monday, the staff is supportive of his request if that is the council's choice. So.
Okay.
Mayor, I might also add, just to be clear, the recommendation is to run these concurrent, not consecutive. So the 30 days would run for both violations at the same time.
Right, so essentially, yeah, there'd be no alcohol or liquor.
Correct.
For the same 30-day period.
Yes, that is correct.
Yep. All right, discussion from the council?
Did they state a reason as to why not immediate and into May? Did they vocalize that in some way?
I had asked Nicole that today, Councilmember Blake, and she's been in contact with the owner, and she can tell you their reason. I know the reason, but I think Nicole can address that better than I can.
He just indicated that based on orders that he's already done and promotional materials and things that he has in place for the immediate future, that it would be, that was the basis of his request, is that to give him a little more time to plan for the store to be closed in its entirety was the request. Yeah.
And to follow up, we understand his intention is to close during that time frame. Not to close permanently, but just during that time frame, and he's just trying, as part of his business plan, apparently.
Yep. So,
It's my
Again, it's-
understanding that Tobacco Hut is owned by Quick Star.
That's what I was going to ask
Is
too.
anyone can confirm that?
That's what I was thinking. I was going to say the same thing. but
Okay,
I think they are.
so I don't think it's like a local.
I would have to double check, but the owner that we've been working with, the representative, probably had that in front of me here, I apologize, is Sashir Kahardi, has been, and I believe he owns 3 locations independent of a corporation, but I would have to double check to verify that.
Mayor and council, I just mentioned, I believe it's Tobacco Outlet Plus,
Oh,
I think is the one affiliated
okay.
with Quick Start. Now,
Okay.
I want to see that online somewhere, but I think that's the case.
There's a separate website and everything for Tobacco Hut. So if this website is associated with Quick Start, they've got some work to do.
Okay. Well, I feel not much sympathy in this situation, given that this is a third offense, alcohol, second offense,
The other way around.
other way around. I mean, obviously, they're not trying very hard to follow our rules. So I am not sympathetic to the deferring it till May.
Well, I know there's leeway that's built into it, but I feel like that leeway is for extenuating circumstances, and I don't feel like there are any extenuating circumstances in this particular case. And while I empathize with the owner's position of having gone out and bought material or promotional material and all of what they've said, at the same time, on the other side of the coin, this is the 3rd offense in 3 years for tobacco and 2nd offense in 3 years for alcohol. I don't see why we would want to.
Do we have any information regarding other compliance checks that they have passed or failed recently?
For this particular business. So the first offense on the tobacco and the alcohol was in November of 2020 as part of the PD's checks at that time. And then the follow-up on the tobacco, it failed in April of 2021. The subsequent follow-up of those checks passed. And so then that is what brings us to the 3rd for tobacco and the 1st for, or the 2nd for the alcohol.
So this is a consistent challenge.
So
Thank you.
So they've signed this, Bob. I mean,
Yes.
There's no appeal at this point from our decision
No.
tonight, correct? Okay.
Correct. It's just, again, it's just entirely up to the council as to what your judgment is. And we've checked with, as Nicole noted today, the ABD, and they just have a 4-month window. And
yes,
Amy can probably address that better than I can. I mean,
No, I can't.
but anyhow, we're looking at a 4-month window, if you want. That's their rules.
So then I would make a motion to approve consent items 5 point.
Let's take them one at a time, I think.
Okay, then I.
Take 5.7 first. yeah.
Okay, then I move to approve consent agenda item 5.7 with the original outline terms of March 14th.
Okay. Motion
Second.
by McBurney, second by Kroll. Any further discussion? If not, please vote. You have that in the system or?
yes,
Is now.
just had to make a small edit.
Yeah, this is us accepting it as it's written with no modification.
Yes.
So,
with no modification, starting Monday, March 14th.
Yep.
Okay, that item passes. Going to take a stab at 5.8?
yeah, I'll take a motion to approve consent agenda item 5.8 with the originally agreed upon terms.
Okay, motion by McBurney,
Seconded.
second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. Moving on then, we will go to public hearings. First is item 6.1, the public hearing on the operating budget for fiscal year 2022-2023. The public notice for this was published in the February 25, 2022 Urbandale City, or excuse me, Des Moines Register. Ask the clerk any objections to that notice is published. That's for a motion and a second to open the public hearing. Motion by Kroll.
Seconded.
Second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. So introducing the items, our finance director, Nikki Lamb. Nikki?
Yes, Mayor and members of the council, tonight we have before you for the public hearing, which is the second step of our official adoption of the 2022-2023 budget. I will run through a couple of slides here for you. Trying to condense a 284-page document into 8 slides. That's what we're going to go for. Just some number highlights. We'll get into some visuals on some of these as well. The main focus is obviously on the operating budget. This is your day-to-day operations, what it takes to physically run the city. So we take out debt, capital, local option sales tax, and the water utility, because those are going to skew the numbers. So we focus on the big one of $60 million there. That is an increase of 8% over the prior year. And most of that, as you know, is personnel costs. Just under 52% of our budget, which is actually super low for a city. Most governments are between 60 and 80% of their budget is spent on people, because that's what we do, providing those services. So still going strong in that area. The whopping per day cost, we're less than a Starbucks at $3.63. That's only up 2 cents from the prior year. So that's something.
$3.63 per person?
Per person.
Okay.
Per person. So, you know, if you've got your household, you'd have a lot of coffee going on for all 5. But
We already do.
yes, so it might be a little more expensive than Starbucks for your one person, but $3.63 for the current population. The other pieces that taken into that, the local option sales tax, obviously that's a huge number for us and continues to grow. This year it has an 18% increase. We're budgeting at $9.3 million. Debt retirement, this one fluctuates a lot based on what's happening in that current fiscal year. So this one is actually a decrease from the prior year, which is the current year. The next item on our agenda is to go ahead and call and pay off 3 bonds totaling almost $8 million. Next year's budget only includes $3.4 million. So it's just a timing thing. Those fluctuate based on those. And capital projects is another huge fluctuation for us. This number is really, really big, 165% increase. And the reason for that is the ARPA funds that we allowed the budget to absorb it, if you so choose. Doesn't have to be spent, but we wanted to give you that flexibility. And the Merle Hay bond issuance that will support those projects based on that timing. It may not all occur, but again, we wanted to include the entire amount so that we have that flexibility. So that's a big number at $59 million. For perspective, this current year is 22.6, because those are all just our projects. So it adds a significant fluctuation in there, but that's why. The water utility is also part of our budget at $31 million, up from 26.1 the previous year. So our total certified budget, that $176 million, is a much bigger number than it normally is. It's usually in the 130 to 140 range. But obviously these other pieces go in there. So everything total, that's what I'll certify to the state tomorrow. And that goes through and allows us to spend everything that we've planned for, subject to amendment. Levy side on the revenue pieces, as you know, 10-cent decrease is being recommended, going down to $10.01 per thousand evaluation. The change was on the debt service levy, that second item there, went from $1.54 to $1.44. The rest of them see no changes on the current levy. And then that debt service piece, that is all a reminder that that's being paid off by the local option sales tax. We'll retire 7.9 million here just in a couple of months. And this current budget includes the 3.4 that I already mentioned. The breakdown, if you're interested in how that comes in, Polk County is about $7 million to the budget, and Dallas County is 2.3. That's the one that's servicing the debt reduction for the Fire Station 43 from the referendum that happened back in 17-18. So total valuation growth, again, a strong year, 4.63%. Last year was 4.61. So pretty consistent there. For the taxpayers, we always like to include what a $100,000 business and $100,000 residents would pay compared to the prior year, because it's easy to multiply that out based on the size of your business or residence. So businesses will pay $5 less next year, and a residential will pay $3 less for our share. But rollback was a huge change this year. It rolled back from 56% of taxable value to 54%, which is the biggest in my time here that we've had a change in the residential rollback of that amount to the positive for the taxpayer, I guess. So total of $26 decrease for a $100,000 home. We are in the last year, or fiscal 23 is the last year of multi-residential rollback. If you remember way back, that started over an 8-year period. This is the final year of that. So from here forward, that classification actually goes away and it becomes the same as residential. And then state backfill, though, this is the first year of the phase out for that. So we had about $187,000 of revenue loss from year one. That comes in over a 4-year period. On the expenditure side of things, obviously people is a big number for all of us, but this budget does request 12 full-time positions, 4 of those in public safety, 3 in public works, 1 in culture and rec, 1 in community development, 1 in general government, and then 1 in our internal service fund, which is the fleet maintenance department. Pension rates, we always mention that. This one actually was to our favor as well. The 411, the police and fire retirement system, actually went down from 26.18 to 23.9. Which was a very good positive thing, because the next bullet point there with the 27th pay period, so this is a cash basis issue. If the first Friday, July 1 is a payday, it actually reflected 2 weeks of June's payment, but it cash flow wide, because we're a cash basis budget. So it happens to hit that all 27 pays hit in the calendar or the fiscal budget. So nobody gets a raise, it's not an extra pay, it just rolls around once every 12 years, and this is our lucky year to have that. So that's almost $1 million impact for us, $907,000. So that was a nice offset to having the pension rates come down. So we didn't see nearly as much of effect when you go back and look at it from 2013 when we had it. That was a much bigger swing to the budget. So that offset nicely. And then this will be our first full year. We thought this current fiscal year was going to have the Public Works and Parks facility open, but we'll finally have a full year of that and get to see what that operating impact will be. So that also came into play this year. And I already mentioned that the debt and capital reflect that Merle Hay investment proceeds, and then turning that back and cash flowing it back to the development. This is just a visual kind of where we've been. Property tax levy, that's always a hot topic, and just kind of reinforcing that we are still one of the lowest in the state for our size, where everybody's approving their budgets here in the next 2 weeks, so we'll have finals for everybody, but we will gain 1 more spot. We still stay below Clive and Altoona now. Ankeny is, I think, still a couple cents below us, but we will continue to do strong there. You can see the big shift there between 19 and 20 when we had the legislation change from thinking the base 810 was going to be an issue. So we shifted everything. The green bar there is the employee benefits levy for the police and fire specifically. We were building that up. It was fully funded. And then we shifted all that over to the 810, which is fine. It still serves our purpose, but that's the levy that we continue to grow to match those obligations. This is just the slice of the pie, how it all comes in. There's not a ton of shakeup here. It's always property taxes. The one thing I would say is the other taxes amount represents lost. So that number, even though our percentage hasn't changed a ton over the years, that 66 to 68% is property taxes. It's still that, but it now includes loss. So that tells you how that loss is helping our levy, because the total volume brought in is still about the same percentage-wise. So this is just for every dollar spent, how you would carve up that dollar. This is just in the visual, so you can see the graphic across of what that trend has looked like, and you can really see that in that right-hand column. The red is other city taxes, that's local option sales tax. So how much of the pie has shifted between the property tax in total? We're not that different than the prior 5 years, but how that pie has shifted by having the local option sales tax as another revenue source.
Nikki, what changed in, well, maybe it's, there's two shades of green. Special assessments or licenses,
So licensing, and
permits?
right.
One of them is much bigger in
Licensing
23.
as permits is, so all of like our building permits and stuff.
Okay.
That has taken a lot more of the pie. So special assessments is actually pretty low.
Okay, so the big green is
licenses and
licenses and permits.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and you can barely see the
Yeah, there's
special
just barely a
assessments.
little, a teeny little stripe in there of that, because that's pretty small. Debt service was the one that we used to have distinct special assessments that we knew were coming, the ones that were like in ag deferral and those kind of things on projects that were done, and those have all paid off. So there's not a lot of budgeted special assessments coming through, but licenses and permits is your building permit numbers. So, I mean, that's really high.
If the chart, if the the colors are the same stack as the chart, I'm disagreeing a little bit.
They should be in the same order.
And so special assessments would be the one that jumped.
Yeah, and I actually think that
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 ARPA?
is flipped. I'll have to check that number, because it's not. It's definitely the license and permits, because building permits went up to almost $1 million.
Right.
So I think that in that last column, I'll have to double check if I have a keying error. We make errors every once in a while, but it's definitely, I
Never.
know, shocking.
Never happens.
My children think they happen all the time, so it could have had definitely happened, but it is licenses and permits, because the building permit number went way up. And it's just as a percentage of the total, of course, so the numbers skew a little bit there. Same thing on expenditure. So for every dollar we spend, where is that dollar going? No big shock there. Public safety, public works, that's our core functions as a city. And then debt service, we like to see that anywhere from 15 to 25%. It used to be right at 25%, but now we're starting to pay off those bonds, right? So I'm gonna have less of my budget that's gonna need to go towards that. We used to be pretty much between 22 and 25, like is what we actually strive for. So this is as low as it's been in a while, because we've consistently paid off those bonds. So there'll be less and less that needs to go to debt service, which is a plus. And then this is the last one, just to kind of show you how that allocation, what we talked about, personnel services, that is what we spend on people. So what that 52%, that's a really good number. You can see the one little swing in 2019 when we had significant capital outlay, so it just shifts the pie a little bit there. But that's pretty consistent. We have never been up to 60%, but even if we would hit 60%, that is extremely low as a governmental entity, because that's what we provide. And remember, this is just on the core operational stuff. So that's, if you added debt and capital, then it would be significantly less than that. But we like to focus on what it takes to run the city. So condensed into 8 slides, but I'm happy to answer questions. I know we went through everything in a lot of detail over the last several months, but happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Nikki. Any questions from the council for Nikki?
Can you share the slideshow with us, please?
Sure,
That was a
absolutely.
very good job of condensing it into 8 slides.
There's a lot of numbers on the first couple, but
Yeah,
it's the highlights, there's a lot of detail in there. And, encouraging the public, the documents out there on our website, we'll upload it tonight with the final, let's say, is adopted instead of just recommended. But the narrative in the front, read through it. That's the visual regurgitation of everything I just said to try to get it really condensed, but it explains why for all those areas. But
I would suggest let's just verify if there's an,
yep, I'll go check that before I post that up there.
thank you.
It'll be black and white on there.
That'll be
I definitely know it's licenses because it's
Yeah,
building
no,
permits, but-
absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, We are in public hearing on this. Would anyone like to address the council on this? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing.
Okay, motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Blake. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. We have 2 items. Anyone care to start?
Move resolution 063-2022.
Motion by Obrecht. Second by Blake. Discussion, please vote. No, this is not like Congress. We don't govern by continuing resolution. We do have to have a budget, so.
And we can't print money, so.
We were all just so stunned by the presentation still, so in awe.
I have to present it to middle schoolers tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes.
Hey,
School.
Norwalk.
that passes.
Mom gets to do career day.
Move resolution 064-2022.
Motion by Obrecht.
Seconded.
Second by Kroll.
Let us
Discussion.
know if the middle schoolers pass it too.
I have to hand out candy to get them to participate, but
We should
Hand
take
out candy
notes
with
from
the
them.
Mayor, take notes, hand out candy.
They had to hand out candy during the budget work
I was
session.
gonna say, we've handed out candy at
Well,
budget
that's
work
true.
session
And
too, so
cookies.
It
That item
does, it does
passes.
work well.
Cookies and
Third graders
abstention.
even more. Is he? Okay, well, you tell him to come to my session. My daughter voted for funeral director over mine, just feeling like,
I mean, she's just expanding her options.
really cool, Mom, like,
Those kids are gonna be lining up to be budget
we'll
managers,
see.
and finance.
they do know that I hand out candy though, because I think this age would have been
This
my
is your
third. I
first
did it
rodeo.
with third graders too, when each
Oh.
of my daughters was in it, so I'm pretty sure they know I hand out candy. I'm not gonna complain.
All right. Well, we just passed our budget, so
There you
again,
go.
thank you to, first of all, to our staff for the months and months that goes into that, and Nikki, and this particularly as finance director. Again, I just want to say thank you again to everybody who has the input on this from the beginning before we even see it, to go through that. Thank you to the council for all your time to go through it. It's a lot of information, a lot of questions, but we spent a lot of time on it, and I think at the end of the day, this is a very good budget overall. So I want to thank everybody for their time and effort to do what we did, so.
In talking to other cities and other council members, I feel like we put in a lot of time in comparison, but I think our output is strong, and I feel very confident with what we're putting out. So I don't think it's a good trade-off with the time to get the good product.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, appreciate it. All right, we'll move on then to regular agenda items. First is item 7.1, and that is to consider the general obligation bonds redemption, as Nikki discussed, so I'll turn it right back over to you.
Yep, so now that the budget has passed, these are the 3 bonds that I referenced in there, totaling $7.995 million that we will call and pay off June 1st, which is the normal principal payment that we would normally make. This just locks us in so that we can file this with the county auditor, so that when I send in the budget, they match up the resolutions. So we do it right as the budget is approved, but that won't actually happen until June 1st. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. Questions? If not, there are 3 items for consideration.
Resolution 060-2022.
Okay, motion by Blake,
I'll second it.
second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote.
I don't have it. I'm an I.
Thank you. I apologize. It looks like it disconnected on you there.
Okay, that passes.
Resolution 061-2022.
Motion by Blake,
Second it.
second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
Move resolution 062-2022.
Motion by Blake,
I'll second it.
second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. Thank you. And again, another very important component of our budgeting. So that's wonderful that we can do that. All right, moving on then, item 7.2, and that is consider the bids for the 2022 ADA Improvement Program. And introducing this is our Director of Engineering and Public Works, John Larson. John?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This is our bid tabulation for our ADA program, or improvement program. Last Wednesday, March 2nd, we did receive 5 bids on the project. We're recommending the low bid from CMD Holdings in the amount of $79,959.30. Their bid was approximately $33,000 or 29% less than our engineer's estimate. With this project, we'll be reconstructing the ramps at 13 intersections, and there'll be 580 square yards of concrete replaced due to the replacement of the sidewalk and the ramps. We're looking to be done by September 23rd. So just kind of show you where things are. It's a little bit of a fuzzy map. I'll give you the general areas. We've got Hickman on the south, 86th Street here, so we've got some northwest of that intersection. And then we've got 70th Street over here and Aurora Avenue. We've got some, and then we've got a couple north of Meredith Drive here. And so with that, I'd just be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, John.
Just to clarify, you said 13 or 11?
11
11,
intersections.
okay, thank you.
Did I say 13?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That was gonna be my question too, is that your slide says
It was
11.
11, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So John, I think we're all paying a lot more attention to the price of things. I mean, I guess you pay a lot of attention to it all the time, but, so why did this come in under budget? And
I think it's
some
a
of,
small, it's a very small project.
just a small project?
That's what
Okay.
I think I think there's more competition among the small projects. This contractor, well, they've been bidding on a lot of our projects. They haven't done one with us before, but it's actually an offshoot of a previous company we've worked with. So it's kind of a smaller startup.
Okay.
So I think that's why, again, what I've been seeing is a lot of the larger projects are the ones that have been coming in over budget.
Okay.
As someone who just received an Urbandale water utility notice in the mail in regards to tearing up streets for redoing the water, I'm assuming that's all coordinated, so we're not tearing up.
Correct.
Okay,
Actually,
just
I
checking.
technically approve all the water plans. I'm the
Perfect.
engineer of record on them. So we do
Excellent.
review those.
Excellent, thank you.
All right. Your motion.
I move approval of resolution 059-2022.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery. Second by Blake. Discussion, please vote.
I'm sorry, my iPad turned off. Oh, stop it.
Okay, and that passes. Then moving on to item 7.3 is to consider the purchase of concrete. John?
Just be glad to answer any questions on that.
Move approval of Council Letter 7002.
Motion by Obrecht, second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. Item 7.4 is consider the estoppel certificate and agreement for the Metro Ice Facility. Bob?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, what you have in front of you is just an agreement whereby the city has to acknowledge that they are current on their lease with us, and the lease is the Des Moines Rink Partners. We have had some issues over there. We've been trying to work out the issues, I might say unsuccessfully. Jan's here, she can address it also, for probably north of a year. We have some maintenance issues. We've got the list whittled down, but there are some significant issues still. Parking lot, landscaping, removal of some equipment / vehicles. I'm not prepared to have the city sign off on this. I've contacted the attorney who represents the bank, who's the lender. It's new financing, taking out the old financing, and they're not going to go forward until we agree. And I'm not going to recommend that we agree till we get these lease issues resolved. And so our recommendation on behalf of the staff is to table this tonight. And what that would mean procedurally is there'd be a vote to table it. It would not come back before the council until there's a motion to untable it and bring it back. We had moved it for 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, we continued till tonight. Jan and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any. But that's basically in a nutshell what we're recommending.
The items kind of listed, how much capital are they needing to bring the lease current, basically, or to bring these items current?
Well, we've given them, it would involve the parking lot. We internally have an estimate, we the city. And I've asked John to do that estimate. Suffice it to say, it would be substantially north of 6 figures in our estimation. Correct, John? And we have not told Des Moines Rink Partners what our preliminary estimate is, because we think they might get bids better than we would. However, we have not seen any bids, and more importantly, we want to make sure they're bidding the project according to what we believe needs to be fixed.
And I guess the question for me is, how are they to get current if we cut off their access to capital?
Right.
Well, they've been operating it now for 6 years. And this is, honestly, Adam, this is not new for them.
Right, but I didn't know if there's a way for us to make sure the repairs are
Well-
done with the loan first. I don't know.
We have even talked about doing that. I've approached the lawyer about escrowing some money to ensure that we could get paid if we had to do it, we, the city, had to do it. And we don't have their estimates yet. It's about around number 2,300 square yards of concrete. We know what our concrete bids have been as recently as 2 weeks ago. And we've extrapolated out what we think those costs might be. It's more important for us to know what they think they can get it done for. And then we're going to deal with the bank to see if we can be assured that we're going to have the funds if we had to ever step in to do it. The bank's concerned, quite frankly, the way the agreement's drafted is they could have to step in and do it if we demand it, if the borrower doesn't. And they have some angst over that, to say the least.
So what do you see as the path forward?
They, honestly, they just have to do what we've asked them to do for quite some time. And Jan and John have been intimately involved in it, or Jan probably more so than anybody. And they have a silent partner too. And what complicates this a little further is the silent partner wants to get paid out of the loan proceeds. And I've talked to him 2 or 3 times. So they need to take this seriously to operate it, because they're no longer operating two sheets. It's one, but they are also partnered up with the soccer club. And they have an investment. I don't know exactly what it is.
I do.
Oh, okay. But, because we had a turf issue, it took us a while to resolve.
I laid that turf.
So I guess I'm fine tabling tonight. It's just to bring it back. Do you see them being able to do that set aside of escrow dollars that if by July 15th it's not resolved, we're the ones going in and paving it and taking care of that way, or?
No, honestly, I have some understanding what that loan might be. I don't know what their underlying principal balance is. I don't know how much the silent partner is owed, but now's the time, quite frankly, there's 23 years left on this lease. And we have had issues. And with the Recplex opening in West Des Moines, we're now going to have the Bucks rink. Whether ice will still be there or not is another question. So we're trying to think through this down the road. And that answers the council's questions. And again, Jan has been intimately involved with this right along for many years. She has a lot of knowledge on this subject.
Well, and as someone who drives that parking lot, I can tell you it's awful.
And quite frankly, Amy, that we get complaints
I'm sure, no doubt.
because citizens
They
think
had a
it's,
huge, like, 6-foot crater in, like, right at the entryway until that got fixed last year.
that was just the beginning.
Oh, I know,
And we've tried to get the rest fixed, but
yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Bob or any discussion?
Making a motion to approve Council Letter 6979 of tabling the estoppel agreement.
Motion by Obrecht,
Seconded?
second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. Item 8, Mayor and Council items. Adam?
Just want to say there's a new app, C-Click Fix, if you didn't know about it, for the city of website as well as app. Turned in truly a dead possum, not a possum playing possum, on it. And within a couple hours, it was gone off our street. So city staff did a fabulous job there and made my wife happy. She didn't have to drive over it, so. But it's a good way to turn in items. I assume, John, your department's kind of the one seeing those tickets come in and so forth. And
They're usually resolved pretty quickly, too.
yes. That is our goal. So I'm guessing potholes will be the next major item that starts showing up on there. But
Probably snow on Thursday, maybe.
Yeah.
yep. So glad to see it replaced. Was it GoGov?
More or less, the new company bought out the old one.
Okay. So C-Click Fix.
Downloading it now.
All right, thanks. Amy?
Maybe that'll save a few emails to John.
There you go.
You can submit anonymously too.
I just want to give a shout out to the staff for turning our colors blue and yellow in support of Ukraine and our families who are here from Ukraine. And then also just, keeping the families and the students in our thoughts from East High School.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Amy. Bridget?
I was going to also bring up the heaviness I'm feeling in our greater community regarding the events of the last couple days, both at East High and in Winterset, Carlisle, Pleasant Hill. I know we, in talking with one of my colleagues in Pleasant Hill, they had a police officer lose their home and we had a firefighter lose their home. So lots of devastation in our community. And I'm glad to see everyone rallying around all those communities that need our assistance. On a positive note, I wanted to congratulate the Johnston girls basketball team for winning the state tournament. The Northwest wrestling program had a very successful finish in their inaugural year at state a couple of weeks ago. And I other than Northwest, I'm sure there's Metro teams playing in the boys basketball tournament this week that I don't know of, but Northwest plays tomorrow. And we had a big budget meeting at DART last week, I think. We approved the budget. The rates for Urbandale go down a few cents. Hopefully, we will eventually get the language in some sort of bill coming out of the legislature to allow us to have an additional hotel motel tax that we would vote on that would go towards transit, and that would allow us to significantly reduce Urbandale's DART levy rate by almost 40 cents. But with the new formula that we're using, we'll be reducing it a few cents every year. But ultimately, we really need the state legislature to act.
I signed off on the letters that went out
Yes.
today to the
There was
legislators.
unfortunately a few communities that did not sign on, so, to that letter. We approved the transit optimization study, which has been going on since prior to my time on DART, which the very first project out of that was the Flex Connect program in Urbandale, which has been successful, and we're gonna keep expanding on that here in Urbandale. And DART is also playing a role in the greenhouse gas emissions study that we are working on with UNI and also in the metro-wide discussions of greenhouse gas emissions reductions. So that is all I've got for right now.
All right. Thanks, Bridget.
I did have something, but I'll defer till next meeting. There's a question.
Okay. I don't have nearly as much as Bridget. No, I just want to echo the same thoughts. I mean, the last time we met, we didn't have a war that was going on internationally, and just that in that time frame, just, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think I spent about an hour a day just reading about what's going on in Ukraine. I mean, the people sitting up here, there, it maybe hits slightly more to home because if things go south, I'd be going over there. But I hope everybody here and everybody of the 3 or 4 people watching are keeping the people in Ukraine and the people in our community in your prayers. We have our meeting with Bravo tomorrow, so it's not great timing for a report tonight, but I know that they are doing some strategic planning and some scoping, and I think you
I
participated.
participated in that.
Yeah, I wasn't
last
able to
10
make
days or
it.
so.
Yeah, I wasn't able to make it this last round. And then I should follow up just not in session. Remind me, when does our carbon footprint analysis come back? I've had a couple people approach me about that, and I was just curious when that's coming back.
I don't know,
Okay.
but tomorrow we'll tell you. I wondered if John Conyer is actually on WebEx.
That's what I was going to ask.
I am on WebEx.
Perfect.
Councilmember
Hello.
Blake.
Yes.
Yep. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Yes, I am working with UNI. They are in the process of drafting the initial report that should hopefully be back the end of April. And then it is slated to come back for the 1st of July, and I believe that will be on your July or August Lunch and Learn work session.
Okay, perfect. I've had 2 to 3 groups approach me about that particular and then how we want to react to it. So I just wanted a status update. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thanks, man. And we're going to carry on further. We have some other things that we're going to be bringing forward too in response to that as well. So yeah, appreciate that. All right.
Not a whole lot to go over, just wanted to say that kudos to the police and fire departments because I've been doing that Citizens Police Academy and it's been absolutely a wonderful experience. Highly recommend it for those of you who haven't done it. Sign up for it next year. That includes the fire academy because the firefighters that came in and did the Stop the Bleed training were phenomenal, blew us away. I'd also like to echo, just appreciate what the city of Urbandale did to show support for the folks in Ukraine. And then finally, the solar group buy project that we're working on should be going out to RFP soon. So we should be seeing more on that here in the coming weeks.
Larry, how long until that's on the street and people are starting to hear about it?
Yep, so we want our first classes to happen this spring, so shortly.
So there'll be classes for the public to take, to learn about it?
Classes for the public to take, and we'll be blasting it out. Hopefully, I'll make sure that if anything doesn't hit Curtis, AJ, and Derek's desks, I will make sure it gets over there, so that way we can get it out to the public and get as much engagement.
And is there going to be a finite window as far as when folks, I mean, when it opens up and when it closes? Are they talking about that as well?
Yes, one of the things that we were requesting from the companies that are going to be bidding is that we can ensure that we can get as many folks in that window before the end of the year as possible, because we know that one of the big incentives is the tax rebate portion of it. So we want to make sure that the company that ultimately ends up getting selected is able to handle that volume, so.
Thank you. All right, I just have a couple things. First of all, happy International Women's Day. I can't believe that Bridget or Amy didn't bring that up, but well, congratulations. Oh, you have a, oh, okay.
America needs female leaders.
Okay, well, I want to acknowledge that. Do want to also just mention the other day, AJ and I met with Clive, with both the outgoing mayor, the incoming mayor, the current mayor, and and the city manager in Clive, and just, continuing our relationships there, and had a very good discussion about where we are on things, the joint, the mutual response came up, and we're talking about, frankly, more to come on this. Is very early, but we're talking about how we can possibly expand that, and to possibly some joint administration on fire. So, again, we have a very good relationship with Clive, and working on some other items as far as the Hickman interchange and everything else. So, just wanted to keep you up to date on that. And again, thank you for the council support. We did have the broad support on our support of Ukraine, and we do stand with Ukraine and with the country, and then also with all our citizens who were affected by that as well. So, all right, with that, we do have a closed session item. I would ask for a motion to enter into closed session regarding the real estate under section 21.5. 1J. Motion by Blake.
Seconded.
Second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote.
Oh my God, I closed out of my meeting.
I can take a voice vote.
Yes, I vote to go to closed session.
Thanks, Bob.
Jan,
Okay.
can you email me the Zoom for tomorrow's meeting?
Oh, that's right. That's. Can you send me the link too, please, actually? Because I have
Those on WebEx, we don't anticipate taking any action after, so I'm going to go ahead and shut that down so that I can do the recording. So thank you for joining tonight.
Sounds good. Before we leave. Okay.